Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Where Are They Now with Aortichope. Where Are They Now is a new initiative that is geared towards sharing updates with prior individuals who have shared their survivor story with us and have been featured in our survivor series. I'm your host, Greg Aaron Greenberg, and joining us today is dissection survivor and Aortic Health of Alabama founder, Diane Bishop. Welcome, Diane, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
Now, you have shared your original survivor story with us, which
Mhm.
anybody can find in a link underneath here. But why don't you go back and tell us a little bit about your event, your initial event, and what happened?
Okay. It's been about 12 years ago, and I was just basically, for about two and a half weeks, feeling bad, tiredness, chest pains, and stuff. But being that I was a victim of suffering from mixed connective tissue disease, I didn't listen to my body so much. I drew it off to be that, the connective tissue disease. And I fooled around and I went to the doctor, one doctor, which told me I was having a panic attack and was therefore sent home on Xanaxes. Then this went on for about 2, 3 days that I laid around, in such pain. And I told my husband something's not right. So he therefore then took me to the ER. And at the ER, they ran blood work and told my husband that I was either having a heart attack or had a heart attack. And, you know, they told him to go home and, it'd be a while to go home and get my clothing. And he did. He went home, but in the meantime, they came and got me to where they ran a CT scan. And upon that, that's when all hell broke loose. Just basically when my whole world came crashing down, and I literally didn't know what the hell was going on. Um, the nurse had got on the phone, reached over there, got on the phone, and was hollering for the doctors. There's people running in my room. There was, you know, such chaos. They were calling for an ambulance, and I mean, just different. Two, three people talk at the same time. I could not make out what was going on. And they asked me, one of the doctors walked up to me and says, hon, they said, where's your family? I says, my husband went home to get my clothes. And I says, but that's all I have is my family, immediate family here. They says, well, they said, I got good news and bad news for you. The good news is that we found what you have. And he said that I have a double barrel aortic dissection. The bad news is they gave me only 1% chance to live because after so many hours go by, they asked me, of course, how long was I feeling like this? And I told them, and the way the machines were going off and my blood pressure, they didn't expect me to live. They didn't want me to move. They wouldn't eat so much as they were telling me to be still. I had to use the restroom. They were waiting for the ambulance to come by and, scoop me up. And I told them I have to use the restroom. They said, absolutely not. And they told me that I could not move. And Greg, let me tell you, honestly, I says, what in the world? They explained to me what aortic dissection was, which I still didn't understand what it was. But basically, they told me that I was dying. And they told me they were going to do their best. They had the best in the Southeast waiting for me at UAB. And I heard, them get a hold of her family, get a hold of them now. Basically it was my time to tell everybody goodbye. And it was like, what the hell's going on? But with that being said, and them telling me, that I might not make it. I asked, could I use the restroom? And they told me, no, I have to go on myself. And I promised you, I had a tear rolling down my eyes. And I told them, nah. I says, I'm sorry. I says, if this is going to be it, give me my dignity. I says, I will not wait on myself. And my daughter-in-law, she worked at the hospital and she was down there. And I looked at her as, Candace, help me get up. And they were saying, don't get her up, and they're over there hollering, she's getting up or whatever. And I got up and I used the bathroom. And then she helped me back on the stretcher, and I got on the stretcher. And I says, okay. I says, now I'm ready. But so much to where the ambulance, they loaded me up to the ambulance, went there, and they asked me, did I know what was wrong? And I says, I don't understand it. But if I don't make it, I thank them. And they told me they were doing the best they could. And when I got to the hospital, they were ready for me. And the hardest part that I took, to where I really broke down, I was strong through most of it, was when I had to take my ring off, my wedding ring, and the cross necklace. And my husband wasn't there. Nobody was there. They asked if they made it. They didn't make it at that time when I took off my wedding ring and my necklace. They put it in a biohazard bag, and they put it on the back of my stretcher. They were wheeling me to the OR, and I started, that's when I wept. And I said, please, I told the girl that was with me the whole time, the nurse, I said, please give it to my husband. His name's Ricky Bishop. Give it tell him, make sure he gets it. Nobody picks it up or lose it. And tell him if I don't see him again, that I love him and thank you for letting me be his queen. It's so real when you're given something and you give it back. I feel like I've been stripped down of everything. And like I said, going back to the urination, have to go to the bathroom. It's like aortic dissection sometimes will really bring you to your knees. It will. And it gets in the heart of things. And that's when it all became real. Right when I took off the ring, and it's just like, it's crazy. I see flashes of my life going by, past. I'm never going to see my kids, my grandkids, or not like that. But it's so, that's when it hit me. And that's when I understood that this is it. Not everybody lives through this, and they gave me only 1%.
All right. Yeah, it's an event, and that leads into my next question, because obviously that whole experience is very traumatic in its sense. My next question is, did you? I'm sure you probably did, but what were your experiences with PTSD?
PTSD I deal with it better now, but PTSD, I thought I was going crazy, and I did not know I had PTSD. I would get nervous at the sound of an ambulance. I would get nervous, just the sound of monitors, nervous about, well, even just going to the doctors. And the whole thing about it, I did not know nothing about PTSD. I thought everyone thinks PTSD is just for war vets. But no, PTSD could be anybody that suffers a traumatic experience. And aortic dissection, just being one of traumatic experience, is very traumatic. And I would have bad dreams. Even watching television. I used to love watching Grey's Anatomy, Rescue 911. And of course, you know now that they always have, at least you're gonna run into someone with aortic dissection on there. Now, it's something like before when you watch it, you didn't know what the heck it was, but now you know, and you find some episodes here and there with it. And that just triggers, a sense of sadness, flashback of what had happened to you. And
You have a different perspective. You understand it now.
very much now, yeah. So yeah.
So when you see something like that pop up in a television show,
It's
yeah,
real.
and they portray it a lot of the times as that catastrophic of an event when it happens on the show, that the person is in that dire of a situation.
Absolutely. And I never realized how serious it was. I understand it now, but with what happened, hasn't done nothing but made me a stronger person. I'm stronger for it.
That's an important thing. Coming out, that's an important thing. That's part of why this show is this show. We want to show how people come out the other side, and as scary as and bad as everything is, there is strength that comes from it.
There is, and there can be. You can either take it to the positive, or and don't let it define you. And you learn to rise up above it, and don't let it define you. And it's not going to define me. And as long as as I'm still standing, I plan to keep on speaking out. As far as participating, with aortic dissection and raising awareness and other things. Now, I know one thing with PTSD, because something called the pump head. You know all about that. Ooh.
Yeah, pump head can definitely be linked to PTSD. I don't know. I mean, there are definitely some aspects of PTSD that can affect the idea of pump head. But yeah, that's a perfect example. Do you have that quote unquote pump head, that experiences of forgetfulness?
Bad. More so now than before it ever happened. Let me tell you. I tell you.
What sort of things do you find that are difficult for you to recall and remember?
Um. Well, like what's today? What time did I take my meds? I have got sticky notes. I got like little sticky notes I keep laying around, to remind myself.
That is an awesome thing you just brought up. The ability to remember that whether or not you took your meds, because it's so important for us.
Very much so, and that's the main thing. That's always on top of my list.
How do you ensure that you've taken your meds?
I always, first thing I get up, that's the first thing I do. Routine and a note. And then I tell Ricky, remind me I took my meds also for backup. It works
For
for
some
me.
people, it's laying out a giant pill box. For some people, it's setting alarms on their phones.
Exactly. Anything that works for you, that's easy for you, is what I will recommend, to help you adjust.
Yeah. No, I like it. You said it's routine. It gets to the point where it's routine. And it's going to be different for everybody.
Exactly.
Because it's going to be also different times that everybody has to take it. So there might be a midday one where it doesn't feel routine. You set an alarm, you take your pills.
Exactly. Yes.
But no, that's awesome. Now you're past your event. They're releasing you. You've survived surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Were you sent to any sort of cardiac rehab or PT?
Nope, not at all. They felt like I was strong enough and I didn't need none of it. They told me, what to do. Of course, I've done the basic, keeping my lungs cleared with the little meter that they gave you to blow. I've kept myself active, meaning to get up and to move, which I was a sitter for a lady with PTSD, and I'm one, and the way I was brought up, if you fall, you get up and stand up. So I always believe you keep moving. you use it or you lose it kind of thing. That's my mind thinking. It's not always right. There's going to be time when you rest, but it worked for me. And I feel that's important, for everybody to do what, you're instructed to do, but also, make sure that it works for you.
Okay. I want to circle back real quick to the idea of pump head, because we talked
Yes.
about it as far as pills, but do you feel it's that way with like memories of discussions? Like, did I tell you about this to other members of your family? Do you find yourself like repeating yourself,
I do.
or like forgetting that you might have spoken to someone about something and then you go back and that? Because that's how I experienced it. I'm just saying, I caught myself repeating myself 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you can't remember if you've done something. You know what? I tell you what's bad too. When you put something, your keys in the refrigerator or the freezer. Now, how pumping can you get?
No, I mean that I think that can happen with a lot of people, but you're absolutely right.
Yes.
I think for us, and I think the common thing you hear, I will put down something. I might take off my glasses somewhere that I didn't realize it, and now obviously I don't have my glasses on, and now it's a 25-minute search for my glasses.
Oh yeah. But let me, now that you mentioned that with the glasses, it reminds me of the pump head. I understand, like with Rick, I knows that he has pump head. The reason, but with him is, as that he had literally had gotten COVID and basically had flatline on my kitchen floor. And I have lost him he was without a pulse for 18 minutes. He was put on in a coma on the ventilator and was on it for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. So, and this is something that's interesting that just goes to show that pump head just don't happen for aortic dissection either, because as explained to me, pump head can happen because of the oxygen.
Right. Right.
So it's not necessarily
there is actual belief that it's the event, the cardiac event itself, not necessarily being on a bypass machine, that is what causes the pump head. And you say you see it in it because, for those that didn't know, Diane's husband Ricky had a cardiac event recently, and he's healing from his own event. So, but exactly. So you see it even coming about in him.
Oh, I do.
It's got to be interesting back and forth, you guys not remembering what one person said to the other.
Hey, it's the blind leading the blind. Seriously. The blind leading the blind, Oh my gosh. But I know this has nothing to do with it, but being that he had COVID as well, his mind still ain't come back, and he forgets so bad, and he's tired all the time. I know it has nothing to do with our discussion, but I just wanted to explain, the reason why I brought him up was to, him having that with the heart stopping, and he's more forgetfulness and tired, so tired all the time.
Okay, so covered some pump head, we covered some PTSD. You've had your event, we've talked about that. It's now a year past your event. Did you celebrate your aortiversary? Did you highlight anything? Did you do anything to like highlight your aortiversary, or have any sort of celebration of I'm a year past this?
Sure. I celebrate all the time. I celebrate when I wake up. Why not? That's one mistake I learned after, aortic dissection is life is so short. And I do not take it for granted. I don't wait for aortic anniversary, even though, it's just like, this is me time. Do not disturb, y'all leave me alone. But every day I celebrate. I do. I take time to myself. I love painting. I have a cabin out back. I just do me and do what makes me happy.
You have a she shed, if you will.
She should, yes, she should. Yes, and I love it.
That's it. That's what it is. Now, would you say that that would be your advice to members of the community? Is that, the anniversary is important and, it marks a milestone, but
Mm-hmm.
to you, that day is just another day. You think that we should be celebrating daily
Every
or to
day.
some variation every day.
Yes, I do. Because you don't know if your promise, tomorrow, you don't know. Nobody does, no matter what you have. But that's one thing you reflect on the time that you have lost. You go back and you think, and then when this happens, and I'm sure there's a lot of dissected survivors and caretakers that go back and think and reflect upon things and you realize what is important and what is not important. And there is a little laundry in the laundry room, and guess what? It's not important.
Very important. That's a very important thought process, is those, especially for us, those stressors. What is worth getting worked up about, what is not worth getting worked up about.
Right.
Now, that's a perfect segue to my next question for you.
Okay.
Um, so that everybody knows, you recently just had another surgery done.
I did.
So how did it look? How did you handle like the years of being monitored, and now suddenly you've hit the point where the doctors say, "Oh no, Diane, this isn't just another year of monitoring. We need to address this." And what
Well,
and then what does that look like as somebody post dissection that's always waiting for, that next potential procedure to happen?
all right. While waiting, while I was being monitored, uh, of course, it gets very tiring. Tiring. It feels like sometimes the doctors don't listen, and okay, here we go. Gotta wait another time. It's not bad enough, but you feel bad enough. And I must say, I was more prepared. It was more organized, and it's planned. And my fear was going into this when they said, "Look, you're going to have the surgery, or I will die." That's where I was at with mine. I accepted it, of course. It's in my nature, but I wanted the sense of relief from somewhere. I was gasping for help, wanting help. And my biggest fear was like, oh no, what if something goes wrong, or what's the surgery don't take? And it actually, I'm not going to say, oh, the surgery is not bad, because it's a tough surgery. I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat nothing, but it can be done and you can overcome it and you will feel better. I'm about 14, 15, 16 days post-op, and I'm tired and I get lightheaded. But I want to tell you what, the pain, I do have some pain that comes and goes, but I actually feel better, Greg. I mean, I'm not so short-winded. Yes, I'm dizziness from time to time, but you got to understand, I just went through a major surgery. It's a major ordeal in my life, but it does and can work. And I mean, it's a rough surgery now. I mean, I cannot say, some people say, oh, ain't nothing to it or whatever, but the important thing to me is communicate with your doctors. and make sure they understand. And if they don't understand, you make sure they understand, because it is your health and your life, and you be your strongest advocate.
Now, post surgery, would you say you feel a real difference? I mean, this was quick. They wanted to get you in as quickly as possible and do it, but it was
Yes.
not necessarily an emergent situation. They
Mm-mm.
wanted it scheduled quickly. Let's get it done. It's time to do it. But it
Right.
wasn't emergent. Did you, obviously, you were home quicker,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you're obviously feeling good enough to go live with us today. Would you say that there's that added advantage? There really is that added advantage to them having a plan and it being a planned surgery, so to speak, as opposed to what your emergency experience was?
Yes, sir. I mean, they're prepared for it. They know your history, unlike something that's unplanned. When I first time I went in there, they didn't know what all they were dealing with, and they did not know your history. With this being planned, I could have probably waited, 2, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, but I was to the point. I want to get this done over with. I want to go to Florida, and aggravate my mom and drop you off some Popeye chicken. But it's more organized. They're prepared, and they tell you everything what to expect. It's so much easier, when you understand things. It really is. But it went smooth. It went smooth. Now I did have a little hiccup coming out to where my blood pressure was, they couldn't get it down. It was high, like 178 or 189 or something like that. Ricky was telling me, and it was like that for several hours, and they would not give me nothing for pain because my heart rate was low. So I guess I got kind of like a little pain in the butt or whatever, and I was ready to start ripping stuff out because I got frustrated because they were giving me muscle relaxers for pain, and it was not helping for pain. And it was this, what turned out, it was this new young nurse or whatever, that, to me, I would say, kind of wanted to take things in their own hand, and not understanding with the pain came high blood pressure. I mean, she sit there and tell whoever was above her, well, I gave her a muscle relaxer, but blood pressure still high. I don't know what to do. I says, I'm hurting you. And then finally one said, look, she came out of surgery a few hours and she hasn't been given nothing since then.
Yeah. No, that's rough. I mean, I can tell you anybody that's watching that has been through this sort of surgery, I'm sure has similar stories of when they
Yeah.
first come out. Your BP can be anywhere. I was the opposite of you. I was low. So they
Mm-hmm.
had to make sure that they can get me back up before
Mm-hmm.
whatever they could give me. But that is the one wrinkle post surgical. Right at that
Yeah.
moment, those first couple hours, they're trying to manage everything correctly. Um,
Right. Right.
but okay, well, that covers a lot of my initial questions. I want to get to the shameless plug portion of our episode, which I want you to talk a little bit about Aortic Health of Alabama and what everything is involved with that.
Well, with Aortic Health of Alabama came after my first surgery. I did not know what it was, like I explained earlier. And it got to where, I've lost family member. My niece was a bodybuilder, and she was modeling in a bathing suit, the day before up on stage, and she collapsed. She literally just dropped dead. Autopsy proved it to be aortic dissection. She's 29 years old, and I mean, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? So I learned to educate myself, and then with the emergency situation that came about, I had some anger, of course, that came along with everything else of why this happened to me. Couldn't find a pencil. I had to learn through it, Google through the phone. Then again, you're on medication, you're in pain. I mean, who's going to do research on aortic dissection? But again, this was like 12 years ago. So I came up, and they bring me a drink in a styrofoam cup. I end up spilling it and stuff. So I said, you know what would be nice is if we had care packages. It's a scary thing to go in. It's very scary, whether you're prepared or you're not, or if it's an emergency situation. It is scary. And I do know that a lot of times, this is the second time that they told my husband, before you take her home, you make sure you have blood pressure cuff, oximeter, and make sure that you have some set of scales. And, talking to other survivors, a lot of people didn't have that or don't get that and don't take the time to take care of themselves properly. They don't. A lot of people don't check their blood pressures. Some don't afford it. Some may not feel the need to, but that's their prerogative. But as far as I was concerned, I'm a very compassionate person, and there's some people that might not be able to afford that. I mean, with living with aortic dissection, and there's some new things that you got to do and to monitor and take care of. So, especially with the pump head, I says, I want to come up with something that everybody could use whenever, they first go into the hospital, when they come home, and they automatically have. And one of the things that we provide for all newly dissected patients, or those, that's going in, for a second time, what have you, we have care packages. And we provide them to anybody that joins Aortic Health of Alabama through Facebook. And all we ask is that you tell us your story and what that you were in need of and stuff, so we could cater to you or help to, help you in a way. So one of the things, we provide blood pressure cuffs, and that's, of course, one per household. I mean, we can't do it every year, but we try, to do it just once a year. Send us, once you're first diagnosed, to let us know, and we could get that to you. We could get you, it consists of also your oximeter, and these darn things are like what, 40 something bucks, your oximeter. We had to have one of these before I came home. There's some people that, again, can't afford that, and that's going to be in your basic care packages: the blood pressure cuff, an oximeter, maybe your pill organizers, because we all know how pump head we could be. Of course. And then we also put in there, in the basic, journals, so you could keep track of your blood pressure or any questions that you will have to ask to your doctors, because again, you will forget. There might be a planner in there, pocket size, a little notepad, but hand sanitizer. These are just a few items. You also have, of course, we're also going to throw you in custom-made masks, Aortic Health of Alabama. And that's the organization that I founded. And this is going to be, we specialize on care packages for those in need. And we ask, again, like I said, that you let us know your story. And you don't have to be dissected, the patient itself. You could be the caretaker to do this. And we will help get this out to you. and it will tell the story, comes with the pamphlet, and tell the story and how it came to be and our mission. Oops. To me, I mean, it's important. It's important to have. And just a simple notepad, pen, paper, and it's subject. We're working on trying to get these out. We're starting out here local for right now, trying to get it to doctors. We're trying to get maybe 25 or 30 out to heart surgeons or cardiologists. So they said, okay, we got to do the surgery or whatever, but we want to give it to them to give it to the patient that's going to have the surgery, and this is something that might help you for when you go home. And this right here is funded solely through donations that you can make to our organization. Or I also, am an artist, and I do a lot of work and, through my arts and craft, and sell to help provide and bring these to you.
That is amazing. And thank you.
Sure. And we're not, one thing I want to specify, when you see Aortic Health of Alabama Unlimited, we're not just Alabama. We named it, of Alabama when I first started small, because I was just doing Alabama. Now, I have sent some out. I have met with patients. I met with survivors. So, and we're working on shipping out more. We ship some out, and we're working
and you've worked with us with Aortichope. So
exactly.
it's that is a very important thing. It's more than just because Alabama's in the name. It is a Facebook group it's a Facebook group that literally is providing information
Right.
nationally, if not globally. Anybody can join.
Anybody could join. We're not just a page. And all we strictly want to do is increase awareness. If we don't have an answer, we will direct you to somebody, of course, which I am an ambassador for Aortic Hope. Yes. And we'll get you the help that you need. But as far as what we especially do is help getting tools that you need, because a lot of people can't afford this. And it's just in my nature. Yes, it's costly, but it's Diane Bishop way to giving back to the community and making a difference.
And that is amazingly admirable.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that. And, I know that obviously probably the last year or so has been a challenge because it's been tougher to get into hospitals. And I know that you have made visits before. But yeah, no, that's an amazing thing. And that's part of the reason why, Aortic Hope has always, been a fan and pushed what your agenda has been and advertised you while you have advertised us. And like you said, you're one of our Hope ambassadors. So, and hopefully we will, moving forward, see you a lot more on this channel. Not just in an interview format like this, but as a panelist and host potentially of other stuff. But yeah, no, could not be any happier that you were here to share the story today with us. I will ask you, because you did before, but tell us with the not taking every day for granted and stuff like that. But I want you really right now to kind of think and put together in your own mind, is there something more than that would really be your advice to the community?
Besides not taking the day for granted and realize what's important, I think one of the things that my problem is I've always put Diane last. Put yourself first. You know your body, you know what works for you. Of course, follow your doctor's instructions, but if it don't work with your doctors to come to a point to where you meet, because you're your best advocate out of anybody. And if the time when I first dissected, I would have known what I had, my surgery would have been sooner. You understand what I'm saying? The very first time I went 2.5 weeks, with what started off with shortness of breath and muscle pains and back pains, thinking that it was lupus, acting up. So listen to your body, and don't worry about what other people think. If you're tired, rest. Do what you want to do and what you feel like, and never mind, of what was so and so done this and so done that, because everybody's body's different. We don't know any other any other element that person has, and we just don't. So my advice to you is know your body, stay keep a notepad and document everything. Document for so you don't forget, or so you'll have it. If the doctors, before, and I'm guilty of it, before, all this came about, before these little notepads and these pens, I would forget. Doctor said, "What's your blood pressure running?" Oh, it was like 120 something, 130 something, or whatever. Have it there to where you could go back and look at and just hand it to your doctor. Any questions? I meant to ask you something. What is it? I can't remember. Well, hand them the little book, Try to make things easier for yourself. Learn to be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself. And yeah, you can live. I mean, it's hard. I've got a long way to go to get where I used to be. But with the pump, sometimes I think in my mind, I'll never get exactly there with the pump head and all the other stuff that comes with it. But you can get better, and there's so much more that you can offer to other people. And I ask everybody out there, if you are a caretaker, if you are a victim, survivor, or something, please share the information about aortic dissection. Wear a shirt, put a magnet on your car or whatever, because awareness is knowledge. And knowledge is very important, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people go around being misdiagnosed and sent home. And it's important. It's so important. I that people share their stories. And I hope that more people will come forward and share with you, as well as others, their stories, so we could learn from one another, grow with one another, and give strength to one another.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's the whole point of these series, is so that somebody can watch this interview between the two of us and hopefully get something that they can apply to their own situation. Whether it be how you look at it, whether it be how you handled it, anything, whether it's your perspective, whether it's something that worked. That's our hope.
Exactly.
That's our hope. So I want to thank you immensely, Diane, for joining me today on this interview. I want to reiterate in my shameless plug part to like this video and hopefully subscribe to Aortic Hope Television, AHTV. Hopefully you'll get notifications when we run other interviews or other live events. So please like and share and subscribe and do all that fun stuff that helps get the word out for both Diane's organization and here at Aortichope. You will find a link to Diane's organization and Aortic Health of Alabama and the Facebook page in our below. And I just want to thank you again, Diane. Appreciate it so much for you joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you, and we will see you soon on this channel, hopefully.
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you soon.